you have best tomorrow? Wednesday, April 27th. You should no longer have gospel book. You now have this book, unless you're dead today. Then that does make it tough, but then you'll just have to pretend along. But you get to turn in gospel book, and then you get this book, which is yours to love and cherish and keep forever and ever and ever, or until you lose it. Tomorrow you do have best. There is no SEL for the rest of the year. We now no longer care if you're a good person or not. Or it's because you have testing every Tuesday, so you only have best on Thursdays. So I think because of that, they gave up SEL for testing. Because
testing every Tuesday?
No, I said testing every Tuesday.
That's what I said.
Right, I said the same thing. I thought you wanted me to make fun of you. That was weird. And then let's see, your Friday e-learning for me is just going to be reading. I'm not giving you officially work. You're literally just going to be, as we're going to get into book things. So you'll be doing a reading thing and that's it. Although for some of you, instead of reading, you'll be listening to me read because I'll give you a link of me reading it. So if you'd rather my melodic voice as opposed to the own melodic voice in your head, we can do that.
Melodic voices.
Some of you guys might have a lot of voices in your head that you have to worry about.
I'm schizophrenic.
Stop talking about yourself.
Scheduling thing for today. Tomorrow's normal. Friday doesn't exist. Next week will be this schedule. The week after that will be this schedule. The week after that will be this schedule. Because we have a lot of testing. Because apparently the more testing we do, the more we hate children or something like that. I'm glad you guys yayed that one. Yay, we all hate children. I feel the same way. Sermon, I've been enjoying the one so far. I've been going through there and reading it and making a few comments on there. I'll do my best to keep reminding you it is due tomorrow at midnight to find your thing that you want to do complainings about. Some of them surprised me, were not things I expected 7th graders to complain about. But so far, as of this morning when I read them, there was not like a single dress code, which is normally in the past, like 12 dress code complaints. So far, we've had other interesting things like waiting in line and snoring, things that I was not expecting.
It is not annoying. I want to be able to show my belly button when I want to.
Because my belly starts like, I feel...
Snoring is how people can actually breathe during their sleep.
Shut.
This whole argument is Twitter
After you can breathe through
You guys are losing points.
Including the kid who just yelled at you.
I'll take the points for letting them not have. I'm a hero.
Well, we're all heroes. Kira!
Can I work on my sermon while I listen to you?
Sure. Let's see again, gospel sermon. For some of you, it's going to be complaining about other kids in class, apparently. Hi, Gray!
Can I trade my phone for my iPad, please?
Yeah, send me at the end of class. And then as far... If I get a chance, I'll walk by in that direction. I was busy not paying attention to you right now.
You snore?
No, but it just makes me laugh on that one, just because I'm an old person. Satire. This... Actually, back up. How many of you guys are aware that there's a movie of this? How many of you guys have seen the movie of this? If not, I highly recommend it. My drawback to you will be the movie is only one chapter of the entire book. They took one chapter and made it into the movie, and there's like 8 chapters. And so it's one of those things where if you've not seen it, I highly recommend that you see it, because for those of you who have seen it, hopefully you've seen the fact that there's humor in it, and essentially the whole point of the book, which the movie's based on, is it's a satire. It is making fun of a thing. And so there's different types of satires out there where I'm not going to make you memorize all those. Instead, I'm going to show you examples. So here, it would be fairy tale retellings. This is not satire. This is like where Disney just goes through and takes an old fairy tale and then just gives you a new version of it. Almost everything Disney does is not a satire. What Disney does is just give you a version and then give you like a newer version. A satire involves you making fun of a thing. You might be able to pick up on why I'm naturally attracted to this kind of book, is that this is an entire book making fun of fairy tales. And so I like fairy tales. I like making fun of things. This book was like a perfect, and I like humor. And this book is funny, making fun of things, and children things. So it's more like these two. So if you're familiar with Shrek, that is a satire of fairy tales, where the prince is the bad guy and the ogre is the good guy. Or Have you guys ever seen Hoodwinked?
No.
Hoodwinked is a genius one. So this one is very similar also, where the idea is they take the idea of Little Red Riding Hood and then they sort of spin it and change it. So what happened here is there is a real story that is in here about these two countries called Florin and Gilder that go way back like hundreds of years. They are no longer around. I don't know if you're familiar, but Europe has issues. And like every so many years, like a country disappears and they add a new country in. Like I'm from a country called Slovakia. That's where Brovicast is. And Slovakia didn't exist and then did exist and then didn't exist. And it's like every once in a while the countries around are like, now we own you. And they're like, okay. And then a few years later, like, we're free. Like, okay. Well, same thing with Florin and Gilder. So there was a guy from Florin who wrote this big fairy tale about his country, making fun of the rulers. You guys like Queen Elizabeth, stuff like that.
Yeah.
He wrote one about the princes and princesses in his actual kingdom, one named Princess Buttercup. That was her actual given name, and he made fun of her, and then eventually it got turned into a book, which we're going to get into. Then that book got turned into a movie. We're just reading the original version of it, so that's what we're going to get into. Right. So here's where we're going to get into some issues. Well, a lot of issues. So yes, book is thick. I agree with you. If at any time you need to keep a door open in your house, just drop book in front of it and it'll keep the door open because it is a nice, big, heavy book. Good news is there's a big chunk at the back we don't have to read, and there's a big chunk at the front we don't have to read because it has introductions to the introductions, because after the original book came out, they kept re-releasing it because people, for some reason, people are attracted to making fun of things. And so the book kept getting popular and popular, then eventually they turned it into a movie. So there's like 4 introductions to the actual book. We're reading one of the introductions because that's it. And then at the end, there is a sequel to it, like with the Gospel According to Larry, and then there's the Vote for Larry. This one has the sequel at the end. If you enjoy it, the book Princess Bride and the Making Fun of Things, or if you've seen the movie, I recommend reading the beginning of the sequel. If you don't enjoy it and we get done and you're like, I hate you, Mr. Broviak, then you should probably skip the sequel, and that's fine with me too. That'll be up to you as far as that goes. All right. Now, I'm going to show you where we can skip to. There's one that says the 30th Anniversary Edition by William Goldman, and we're going to skip that one. So skip all the XIIs, skipping those. If you've ever watched the movie, that's a good introduction because it talks about Andre the Giant, who played the characters in there, and Carrie Elway. So it gives you like all of this really cool background to the actor. But I can't assume you guys have all watched it, so we're going to skip that. If you've ever watched the movie, it's a fun little beginning. And then there's the introduction to the 25th Anniversary Edition. We're skipping that one too. Again, that's got really good information, so you keep skipping past all the XV, VI, XX, like really bad rap names. And then get to the one where eventually we get to one that just says The Princess Bride. It's on page
1.
technically 1, although neither page has a page number on it. So when you run out of XVIIs, then that's the page we're going to begin with.
There we go. Found it.
So now,
-2.
hang on. You're also going to turn to, hang on, and we're going to show you a thing. Turn to page 36. Girlfriend? Oh, you said girl. I thought we were having a communication. So when you turn to page 36, that is chapter 1. So those first 36 pages, we do have to read, which I'll explain in a moment. So here's where the issue comes in. For those of you who have seen the movie, do you remember the beginning part with the little boy and the old man and stuff like that, when like he's sick?
What page are we on?
So we're getting there. That is actually part of the story that we're going to get into because they brought it into it. Give me a quick hot minute here. Allow me to explain some of the confusion-y bits. So, this introduction, I have tried skipping in the past because kids get whiny and complaining. I know, you find this shocking. And so we've jumped straight to the beginning of the actual Princess Bride. The issue is, we're not reading the actual book, Princess Bride. The actual Princess Bride novel is 1,500 pages. We are reading the small This is the small version of The Princess Bride. So this is the cut down version. But the issue is William Goldman is not the actual author of Princess Bride. He did what's called, do you guys know what an abridgment is?
No.
Where it's where you cut a thing down to a shorter version of it. So he cut a version down, but he cuts out these sections and he puts in his own words. And whenever we try to skip the intro, he makes these references that get real confusing. So we're going to read the intro. I'm going to push through it as fast as I can and have it make sense to you. And then we'll get to like the making fun of princesses and evil people and stuff like that. It's okay because William Goldman, he's still funny because he's making fun of teachers for a lot of the beginning part of it, and I figure you'll enjoy the making fun of teachers part. And then he also makes fun of his wife and his kid, and so it's hard to not enjoy a man who makes fun of teachers, wives, and children. And so there's gonna be, and for those of you who have a sense of humor like me, you may enjoy the intro because it's a very sassy sense of humor. Again, there's a reason why I was attracted to the book. As I read it, I'm like, oh my god, this man is nothing but nonstop sass. So we're going to try and do that. Kira.
Are you able to read it all in this book at all?
Why do you want to read?
I know, who likes reading? She's back in an advanced class. Hopefully at some point, yes. Probably not the intro, just as I want to speed through it, but when we get to the meaty good parts, yes. That's no problem.
I'll read as slow as I
Yes.
can.
I wanted to clarify. We're reading the introduction with you, but then we're reading it on our own.
Back and forth. I will still read some parts with you, but yeah, I'm going to have you guys doing reading on your own. Hooray! Sorry, I was imitating Owen.
127, right?
What's that?
Did you still leave at 127?
Yeah.
Okay.
What time is it?
Yeah. Yes, that sounds right. All right.
17 minutes.
So we're going to start with, this is my favorite book in all the world, though I have never read it. And this part is William Goldman speaking to you. This is the authory person who is doing this version. For now, just go ahead and put on your I'm confused pants and just prepare to wear them for a little bit. Pull them up, buckle them on tight, and just keep going, I'm confused. It'll be okay. We'll get there. Okay. This is my favorite book in all the world, though I've never read it. Okay, how is such a thing possible? I'll do my best to explain. As a child, I had simply no interest in books. I hated reading. This might connect to many of you.
Yes.
I was very bad at it. And besides, how could you take the time to read when there were games that shrieked for playing? Sorry, hiccups. Stop it. Basketball, baseball, marbles. I could never get enough. I wasn't even... Marbles. It's a little ball. Did you flick it?
I've actually played the...
I wasn't even good at them. But give me a football and an empty playground, and I could invent last-second triumphs that would bring tears to your eyes. School was torture. Miss Roginski, who was my teacher for the 3rd through 5th grades, would have meeting after meeting with my mother. I don't feel Billy is perhaps extending himself quite as much as he might. Or, when we test him, Billy does really exceptionally well, considering his class standing. Or most often, I don't know, Mrs. Goldman, what are we going to do about Billy? So that's usually the first issue. Do you guys realize Billy is a nickname for William?
What?
No.
So apparently that was the thing people did not know. So William can be shortened to Willie. It can also be turned into Bill or Billy.
No.
So those are all, just like if your name is Jonathan, you can become John. And so,
Why
yeah,
can't we just do
Billy
William?
doesn't make sense with
it's just, I'm not the one that created names. I'm just telling you.
Jonathan.
So I could call him Billy James, and it'd be the same idea, because you could go by Billy if you wanted to, or Big Bill. Any of those are options that are free to you.
How about small Bill?
So, Billy, William, same thing. What are we going to do about Billy? That was the phrase that haunted me those first 10 years. I pretended not to care, but secretly, I was petrified. Everyone and everything was passing me by. I had no real friends, no single person who shared an equal interest in all the games. I seemed busy, but I suppose, if pressed, I might have admitted that for all my frenzy, I was very much alone. What are we going to do about you, Billy? I don't know, Miss Roginski. How could you have failed this reading test? I've heard you use every word with my own ears. I'm sorry, Miss Roginski. I must not have been thinking. You're always thinking, Billy. You just weren't thinking about the reading test. I could only nod. What was it this time? I don't know. I can't remember. Was it Stanley Hack again? Stan Hack was the Cubs' third baseman for these and many other years. And I saw him play once from a bleacher seat, and even at that distance, he had the sweetest smile I'd ever seen. And to this day, I swear he smiled at me several times. I just worshipped him. He could also hit a ton. So William, the guy who wrote this one we're getting into, was a kid who basically had ADHD and hated school as a child. And so anytime he was supposed to read, he would do anything but read. Like basically imagine he was somewhere else. And he oftentimes spent his time imagining he was hanging out with sports stars because they were way more fun than school. Bronco Nagurski. He's a football player, a great football player. And the paper last night said he might come back and play for the Bears again. He retired when I was little, but if he came back and I could get someone to take me to a game, I could see him play, and maybe if whoever took me also knew him, I could meet him after, and maybe if he was hungry, I might let him have a sandwich I might have brought with me. I was trying to figure out what kind of sandwich Bronco Nagurski would like. So instead of taking his test, he's imagining what sandwich to give a sports star. She just sagged at her desk. You've got a wonderful imagination, Billy. I don't know what I said. Probably thank you or something. I can't harness it, though. Why is that? I think it's that probably I need glasses and I don't read because the words are so fuzzy. That would explain why I'm all the time squinting. Maybe if I went to an eye doctor who could give me glasses, I'd be the best reader in class and you wouldn't have to keep me after school so much. She just pointed behind her. Get to work cleaning the blackboards, Billy. Yes, ma'am. I was the best at cleaning blackboards. Do they look fuzzy? Miss Roginski said after a while. Huh? Oh, no, I just made that up. I never... Sorry. He just, all the time, he also likes to lie. I never squinted either, but she just seemed so whipped about it. She always did. This had been going on for 3 grades now. I'm just not getting through to you somehow. No, it's not your fault, Miss Roginski. It wasn't. I just worshipped her, too. She was all dumpy and fat, but I used to... It's how you describe teachers sometimes.
So you worship a teacher and then you insult them.
You can be dumpy and fat and still lovable. That's what I tell my mom all the time. She was all... Sorry. I told you. I like this book because it brings out my sassy side.
That was funny.
Which I do my best to keep sort of controlled.
No control.
But I used to wish she'd been my mother. I could never make that really come out right unless she'd been married to my father first, and then they'd gotten divorced. And then my father had married my mother, which was okay because Miss Roginski had to work, so my father got custody of me. Yeah, that all makes sense. Only, they never seemed to know each other. My dad and Miss Roginski. Whenever they'd meet each year during the Christmas pageant when all the parents came, I'd watch the two of them like crazy, hoping for some kind of secret glimmer or look that could only mean, well, how are you? How's life been going since our divorce? But no soap. She wasn't my mother. She was just my teacher, and I was her own personal growing disaster area. You're gonna be all right, Billy. I sure hope so, Miss Roginski. You're a late bloomer, that's all. Winston Churchill was a late bloomer. So were you. I was about to ask her who he played for, but there was something in her tone that made me know enough not to. Do you guys know who Winston Churchill was?
No.
Leader of England during World War II. So not a baseball player.
My favorite baseball player.
And Einstein. Him, you guys know who Einstein is.
Yeah.
Him, I also didn't know. Or what a late bloomer was either. But boy, did I ever want to be one. Okay. When I was 26, my first novel, The Temple of Gold, was published by Alfred A. Knopf, which is now part of Random House. What? Wrong direction.
What is random?
So we're going to get to this second. Random House is a company that publishes books, and we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Which is now part of Random House, which is now part of RCA, which is just part of what's wrong with publishing in America today, which is not even part of the story. I told you he likes to ramble. ADHD. Anyway, before publication, the publicity people at the Knopf were talking to me, trying to figure what they could do to justify their salaries, and they asked, who did I want to send advanced copies to so they might be an opinion maker? And I said, I didn't know anybody like that. And they said, think. Everybody knows somebody. And so I got all excited because the idea just came to me. I said, okay, send a copy to Miss Roginski. And I got all excited, which I figured was logical and terrific because if anybody made my opinions, she did. She's all through the Temple of Gold, by the way. I called her Miss Patulski. Even then, I was creative. A quick pause. If you go to the very beginning of the book, where it has things that say the praise for Princess Bride, that's what they're asking him to do. We wanted to have, like, the beginning of his first book, they want to do like a little blurby thing. So they're saying, who do you want us to send your book to? So they can do like a little blurb at the front of it. And they expect him to give like an author, and he goes, my third grade teacher. Who? This publicity lady said. This old teacher of mine. You send her a copy, and I'll sign it, and maybe write a little. I was really excited until this publicity guy interrupted with, yeah, we were thinking of someone more on the national scene. Very soft, I said, Miss Roginski, just send her a copy, please, okay? Yeah, by all means. You remember how I didn't ask who Churchill played for because of her tone? Yeah, I must have hit that same tone too just then. Anyway, something must have happened because he right away wrote her name down, asking, was it Ski or Sky? With the I told him, already hiking through the years, trying to get the inscription fantastic for her. You know, clever, modest, brilliant, perfect, like that. Her first name? Yeah, that brought me back fast. I didn't know her first name. Miss was all I ever called her. I didn't even know her address either. I didn't even know if she was alive or not. And I hadn't been back to Chicago in 10 years. I was an only child. Both folks were gone. Who needed Chicago? Send it to Highland Park Grammar School, I said. And first, which I thought I'd write was, for Miss Roginski, a rose from your late bloomer. But then I thought, that's too conceited. So I decided, for Miss Roginski, a weed from your late bloomer. Yeah, I thought that'd be more humble. Okay, that's too humble, I decided next. And that was it for bright ideas that day. I couldn't think of anything. And then I thought, wait, what if she doesn't even remember me? Right. Hundreds of students over the years. Why should she? So finally, in desperation, I put, for Miss Roginski, from William Goldman. Billy, you called me. And you said I'd be a late bloomer. And this book is for you. And I hope you like it. I was in your class for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades. Thank you very much, William Goldman. The book came out and got bombed. I stayed in and did the same, adjusting. Do you guys want me if the book bombs? Did horribly and no one bought it. And if he says he got bombed,
He did hard.
drinky.
Oh.
Yeah, because apparently he was a wee bit depressed. Not only did it not establish me as the freshest thing since Kit Marlowe, it also didn't get read by anybody. Alright, well that's not true. It got read by any number of people, it's just all of them I knew. I think it's safe to say, however, no strangers savored it. It was a grinding experience, and I reacted as indicated above. So, when Miss Roginski's note came, late, it got sent to Knopf, the publishing house, and they took their time relaying it. And I was really ready for a lift. Dear Mr. Goldman, thank you for the book. I have not had time yet to read it, but I am sure it is a fine endeavor. I, of course, remember you. I remember all my students. Yours sincerely, Antonia Roginski.
She did not
What?
remember him.
Exactly. What a crusher! She didn't remember me at all. I sat there holding the note, rocked. People don't remember me. Really. It's not any paranoid thing. I just have this habit of slipping through memories. It doesn't bother me all that much, except, okay, I guess that's a lie. It does. For some reason, I test very high on forgettability. So, when Miss Roginski sent me that note, making her just like everyone else, I was glad she'd never gotten married. I never even liked her anyway. She'd always been a rotten teacher, and it served her right. Her first name was Antonia.
I agree.
Wait, no, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. I said out loud right then. I was alone in my little one-room apartment on Manhattan's glamorous west side, talking to myself. I'm sorry. I went on. You gotta believe that, Miss Roginski. What had happened, of course, was that I'd finally seen the postscript. It was on the back of the thank you note, and what it said was, "Idiot, not even the immortal S. Morgenstern could feel more parental than I." S. Morgenstern, the Princess Bride. She remembered. Flashback. So we're now in a flashback inside of a flashback. So he's flashing back to when he first wrote the book, which is now a flashback to when he got inspired by the book. So this is where we're starting to put off those confusing pants. It was 1941, autumn. I'm a little cranky because my radio won't get the football games. Northwestern is playing Notre Dame. It starts at 1, and by 1:30, I can't find the game. Music, news, soap operas, everything, but not the biggie. I call for my mother. She comes in. I tell her, my radio's busted. I can't find Northwestern, Notre Dame. She says, you mean the football? Yeah, yes, I say. It's Friday, she says. I thought they played on Saturdays. Am I an idiot? I lie back, listening to the soaps. After a little bit, I try finding it again. And my stupid radio will pick up every Chicago station except the one carrying the football game. Oh, I really holler now. And again, my mother tears in. I'm going to heave this radio right out the window. It won't get it. I can't make it get it. Get what? She says. The football game. How dumb are you? The game. It's on a Saturday, and you watch your tongue, young man. I already told you it's Friday. She goes out again. Was there ever so ample a dunce? Humiliated, I flick around to my trusty Zenith radio trying to find the football game. It was so frustrating. I was lying there. It explains it in a moment. I was sitting there sweating, and my stomach felt crazy. I was pounding the top of the radio to make it work right. And that was how they discovered I was delirious with pneumonia. And if you don't know, pneumonia gives you a fever, which basically cooks your brain. And so the worse your pneumonia gets, the less you can think because your fever goes up there and you keep having like hallucinations and brain issues and stuff like that. So that's where we're going to get the pneumonia. Tomorrow we'll pick up with children dying of pneumonia.
Yay.
Wait.
I just like the fact that you guys yayed children dying.
It was only me.
Selena.
Here. What?
Your homework is to not read yet.
Okay.
Oh.
But that's so hard. How am I gonna finish that in time?
You don't.
Whenever someone
Don't worry, I'll give you plenty of reading to cry about later. We're just not there yet. I still have more sassiness to come.